to be chair of Featherston Booktown, and I'm coming to you live this evening from our property about 3 k's outside the vibrant village of Featherston, which of course is New Zealand's only booktown. And I just want to warmly welcome you to Featherston Booktown's celebration of National Poetry Day 2021. Because we're in alert level 4, we've had to move originally planned intimate poetry reading, which was a fireside event at the cosy, comfortable and welcoming Featherston Bowling Club. We've had to move that event to online, but we're still really thrilled that we're going to hear from 3 standout poets this evening who have recently published new works: Sam Duckor-Jones, Tim Grgec, and Vivienne Plumb. So every National Poetry Day is an opportunity to reflect on the importance of poetry and poets in our lives. And I think Salman Rushdie summed it up when he said, "A poet's work is to name the unnameable, to point at frauds, to take sides, start arguments, shape the world, and stop it going to sleep." I think with our wonderful 3 poets tonight, we're going to get all of that. And I'd like to warmly welcome Sam, Tim, and Vivienne. Thank you for joining us this evening. So first up is Sam Duckor-Jones, who will be reading from his latest. Of course, while he's living in Te Whanganui Atara, Wellington now, spent some time in Featherston and was on the board of Featherston Booktown, so we still claim Sam as one of our own in Featherston. He'll be reading 2 poems from his new book, Party Legend. The title poem is a satirical pantoum addressing political fluffery and associated personal history mythologies. If you're wondering what a pantoum is, the pantoum form deploys repeated lines that may be gently altered at each refrain, creating a rolling rhythm. Now, rhythm and music inform a lot of Sam's writing, and he'll also be reading his wonderful poem, which is Allemande in G, and follows the music, that wonderful music by J.S. Bach. And that music is transposed and arranged by Sam, and he's using the real notes in Bach's cello suite to design gleeful nonsense poetry that attempts to swirl and make shapes in the way of the source material. And a special treat tonight is that we have NZSO Associate Principal Cellist Ken Ichinose, who will play the original Allemande, and Sam will then read his transposed poem. So we're really looking forward to that. And then we have Tim. Tim's first published book of poems, All Tito's Children, is narrated by Stepan and Elisabeta, 2 siblings in Kotoriba, a small village between 2 rivers in Yugoslavia. They want to know everything about the world. From their tiny corner of communist Europe, small cracks are starting to appear in their adoration of the national leader, Tito. Tim's book is a verse biography of Yugoslavia's great but feared dictator, Joseph Tito. It is shadowed by the story of Tim's own grandparents who fled communist Yugoslavia in the 1950s and came to Aotearoa, New Zealand, as refugees. Lyrical and haunting, it's a multi-layered portrait of personal and political disillusionment, deception, escape, and loss. And then we come to Vivienne Plumb. And a commentator has said that when Ms. Vivienne Plumb reads, she successfully moves the poetry off the page and makes it come alive. We're proud to have Vivienne as a Featherston resident, and she has read from one corner of the globe to another, representing Aotearoa New Zealand literature at the Chicago Festival of Humanities, the Kuit Festival in Ireland, the famous Cody's Bookshop in San Francisco, unfortunately now sadly closed, the Queensland Poetry Festival, Vilenica in Slovenia, the Sydney Writers' Festival, the World Poetry Festival in Kuala Lumpur, the fantastic Meselit Bookshop in Krakow, besides many smaller events and university readings in cities such as Hong Kong, Berlin, Iowa City, London, Melbourne, Florence, St. Louis, Athens, Warsaw, and Taiwan. She will read from her new chapbook of poems, Lotus. So it gives me great pleasure to hand over to Sam, and welcome, Sam.
You're coming in a little bit scratchy for me, so I'm just going to trust it across clear and fine. Is that so? Okay. Let me read my first poem, Party Legend. Party Legend. Vote for me. I'm from a very distinguished flame. I attended a school for gifted merchandise, yet this is also an everyman's story, a regular story. Sure, I appended a pool of gifted merchandise, and I appear to you now as a velveteen seal pup with enormous bloody teeth, but don't be frightened. I have a very relatable, familiar, regular story. Plus, I understand complex economic systems. I may appear to you now as a velveteen seal pup with an enormous bank account, but don't be fooled. I'm from a tiny Kansas farm atop the Himalayas in the Mexican state of Alice Springs, Bangladesh. I understand complex emotional systems. My mother was my childhood dog run over before she was born, so don't tell me about propped atop the Himalayas in the Mexican state of Kaikoi, Kazakhstan. The stories are true. I've nothing to hide. My mother was my childhood dog run over before she was born. Lenny Kravitz, Prince, Jimi Hendrix, all fabulous lovers. The stories are true. I've nothing to hide. See how I relate. Prince, Jimi Hendrix, Barack Obama, Scarlett and Frank O'Hara, poetry and politics are in the blood. See how I relate. Max, my great-great-great-uncle, shtetl heartthrob and political activist, was arrested in 1895 and thrown into a Russian jail, and Rose, the aunt on the outside, sang in Yiddish through the bars. Poetry and politics, my darlings. Some things in the... I may have mentioned Max, arrested in 1895 and thrown into a Russian jail, and Rose, who sang in Yiddish through the bars, and the guards thought, harmless lullaby. But it was actually an escape plan. Folks, I care. Oh my God, I care. Rebellion is in my blood. Send me to jail if you wish, for I believe in many things. I care. Oh my God, I care. I nurture my mythologies as robustly as you shelter yours. Send me to jail if you wish, for I'll believe in anything. But come election day, do consider my singular story. Embrace my mythologies, and I shall acknowledge yours. Vote for me. Blood of Max, jailed for his politics, and of Rose who broke him out with a lullaby. Come election day, do consider my inspiring story. My mother's mother left Russia for America and became the first female pharmacist in New York City. Imagine Max jailed for his political beliefs, and Rose who broke him out with a lullaby. He was found at the front for dealing heroin to the mob. My mother's mother was the first female pharmacist in New York City. These are facts. We have the news clippings. And yes, her pharmacy was a front for dealing heroin to the mob. See this photo of her in a frilly white dress, wide-brimmed hat, and an enormous machine gun strapped to her side. These are facts. We have the news clippings. What is my point? Dear audience, there is the photo of my great-grandmother with an enormous machine gun strapped to her side, but my point is not about organized crime. What is my point? My point is that I come from well-connected and fearless and entrepreneurial stock. My point is not of homogenized time. I have no ghosts. I come from well-connected and fearless and entrepreneurial. Justin Trudeau still sends chocolates. See how I shake out the sheets. I have no ghosts. My opponents will argue that the timeline meanders, but I shall fire back. Dorothy Gale has the other half of this locket. See how I shake out of broken telephone. I shall fire back. Plotlines curl and twist, are dropped, picked up later, repurposed or rewritten. Mystery is a game of token xylophone. Edges fray and are mended with new perspective. Plotlines curl, are dropped, picked up later, repurposed or rebitten. What does it matter if there are embellishments? Pledges stray in a blue perspex slids. Who doesn't relish some abstraction? And then, what does it matter if there are embellishments? Homer, the Bible, Lord of the Rings. Who doesn't relish a metaphor now and then? If it's good, it might as well count. Homer, the Bible, Harry Potter. I ask you, define reality to your neighbour and you each come up with different answers. It's good, it might as well count. A show of hands, please. How many of you chose the vial of blood over the Stradivarius? Define reality to your neighbour and you'll each come up with different answers. Did I mention so well connected? A show of hands. How many of you chose the Stradivarius over the message in a bottle? Joachim was violinist to the Tsar. Vote for me. I am so well connected. A position I would indeed consider reinstating should I be elected in September is that of my great-great-uncle Joachim, violinist to the Tsar. Ah, but Sam, I hear you say, everyone's Russian great-grandmother was potentially Anastasia. And look, there are positions I would indeed consider reinstating should I be elected. I have the receipts. I didn't want to have to show them, but okay, if you insist, I will bring the receipts. Ah, but Sam, I hear you say, every Tito was Ichinose princess. And yes, okay, I hear you. And positively argue that a vote for me is a vote for dreaming and old receipts. I guarantee 100% you will not want to miss when I unveil the receipts. Okay, fireside time, colleagues, country folk. Regarding dreaming and these old folks, remember in the war when I saved your sorry ass? Friends, colleagues, country folk, I'm no hero, but remember in the war when I taught that yoga class? I've had my struggles, you know, with self-esteem. Some call me I've had my struggles. My grandfather was found with his infant siblings beside their dead mother. Humble beginnings. My grandmother was held by the ankle out the window by a wicked woman. My grandfather and his infant siblings gurgling on the kitchen floor beside their dead blind mother. Uncle saved his home so his mother could have a lick. Now he's a real estate tycoon. My grandmother was dangled by the ankle out a window by Philip Pullman, but look at us now. My uncle is a real hate typhoon. My father was nominated for the Best Dream Prize, and my mother is a shaman. Look at us now. My brother really did find treasure on an island, and my sister has the president's number. My father was dominated by surprise, and my mother is a ploughman. Vote for me. My sister is the resident plumber. When I was a child, I drew rainbow-coloured orchestras. Vote for me. In the gorgeous lies we wrap around ourselves in order to have one step follow the next. When I was a child, I had a rainbow-coloured orchestra. Friends, hands up if you remember your dreams. Art, poetry, such gorgeous, elegant lives that we wrap around ourselves. Vote for me. And I'll insist they count and recount till we win. Sing out if you remember your dreams. Oh, sweet constituents, I love you like you're one of my own numerous and successful daughters. Vote to me, and I'll insist you count and recount till we win. Congratulations. Sweet constituents, I love you like you're one of my own very numerous and successful racehorses. We are winners. We have won. Congratulations. Yes, I am still so very velveteen. We are winners. We have won. We are fabulous winners who have already won. And soon, perhaps, I shall return to the ocean. Tell me, am I not still very velveteen? My advice, go to bed. Upon waking, write it down. Soon, perhaps, I shall return to the ocean, that might box. Till then, go to bed. Upon waking, write it down. Repeat, I am incredibly wealthy and devastatingly handsome and really good at sports. See you at the ballot box. Remember my everyman story. I'm an incredibly healthy and devastatingly handy and really good at thoughts. But you know this. I am relatable. I am a very distinguished shame. vote for me. And now we're going to hear from Ken, who's going to play us the Bach Allemande on his cello.
Thank you, Ken. Well, it's quite an honour to have a cellist from the NZSO play the Allemande in this session. And the piece I'm going to read next is called Allemande in G by J.S. Bach, bars 1 to 17, transposed and arranged by S.L. Duckor-Jones. And I ended up writing this poem when I needed to. Sometimes and there are a number of exercises that you might sort of pull out of the bag. And I decided to actually go and pick up some sheet music. And it was
the Allemande, which is a piece I love, and I used the A, B, C, D, E, F, G as it falls on the stave to inform what words I would use in this poem. And this is the result. And it is a kind of nonsense poem, but like my Nana always said, it's all right to close your eyes at the orchestra and just kind of let it wash and swirl around, and it's silly and fun. Here we go. Allegro moderato. Bars 1 to 3. Bring giant doggy bags, advance gammy franknesses, gloom desists eternally for geodes and borrowed charms, demonstrative bicycles go flop, get edgy, do chummy bourgeois caricatures, dote earnestly, forgive gavoting alumni boastings. Coughing at glamorous fates, gags even frumpy gentlemen, and decadent freebasing gags aloof by partisan crowds, and believability gags gently defensive dolts, be beatific, gag generously, buy a blender, cream babes and ghouls at bachelor cribs, and gloat freshly, get a dealer car, bang angels, get festooned. Bars 7 to 9. Gain eternal elevation, bounce back, gain grace, examine elevation. Boys, elevate gains from America, gain friction, elevate friction, gain choices, gather forecasted general choices, earmarked for gains, expenditure, and gross. Forecasts, damned eternal forecasts, dredging gleeful elevations, flub direction, forecast, glowing aunties, baking cakes a while. Bars 10 to 12. Bread. Doughy, grainy, decadent bread. Good and fresh, got eggs, got avocado. Bread could define breakfast. Can't eat avocados excluding carbs, and bread does count, as do buns. Can anyone enjoy gluten-free, egg-free dough? Aging gentry fancy eating dolloped alligator gelatin, even for dinner, antiquated cunts. Bars 13 to 15. Blind accounts can go deep, can bring about genuine demonic change and boost good demons for country, God and bone. Chattier demons eventually fade. Guys, act cool, don't eviscerate a good demon. Golf for everyone, for dads, aunts, daughters. Don't fret, a chill bitch awaits. Glance dismissively backwards at golden fools earning dollars, cents, earning actual gold, fussing daily, assessing credit daily, absconding daily, fingering alien commodities daily, asking for dick daily. Repeat. Thanks all. A real pleasure to participate in this event. And now I'm really happy to hand you over to Tim Grgec. His writing has been published in a range of journals. His first full book, All Tito's Children, is a biography of dictator Josip Broz Tito, is shadowed by the story of Tim's own grandparents who fled communist Yugoslavia in the 1950s and came as refugees to New Zealand. The flow in All Tito's Children is described by Wellington poet James Brown as effortless and perfect. Over to you, Tim.
Thank you, Sam. Kia ora koutou. Thank you all for joining us this evening, and of course thank you to Booktown for having me. So as Sam said, I'll be reading poems from my first book, my new book of poetry, All Tito's Children. It's a verse biography of the Yugoslav dictator Josip Broz Tito. To many of you, Tito is probably quite an obscure figure, a tin pot dictator from a republic that no longer exists. So why write about something so far away, so removed from contemporary Aotearoa? I'll start at the beginning. I dedicated this book to my Maika and Dita, my paternal grandparents, who as teenagers escaped Yugoslavia in the 1950s. In those days, Yugoslavia was a poor country under a communist government. Opportunities were very limited. In Kotoriba, my grandparents' village, there was one school, one church, and one way of life: farming. But you couldn't just leave for a better life. The borders were closed and patrolled. So what were people to do? My grandparents decided to risk it all and escape. They didn't tell anyone, not even their parents or siblings. They got up in the middle of the night, hid themselves in a car, and left Kotoriba for good. The two of them wouldn't return for over 30 years. While much of my book is made up, my grandparents' story inspired much of it. Through my imagined characters, I wanted to explore the conditions which forced many Eastern Europeans to migrate during the Cold War. Tito, the country's dictator, dominated all aspects of life. Yugoslavia trained its citizens to be patriotic and obedient. His picture hung in every classroom. I was fascinated by their great but feared leader. My book begins in 1948, when Tito famously breaks from his alliance with the Soviet Union and with Stalin. I actually opened the book with a real-life letter Tito sent to Stalin and quoted it verbatim. It reads, "To Joseph Stalin, stop sending people to kill me. We've already captured 5 of them, one of them with a bomb and another with a rifle. If you don't stop sending killers, I will send a very fast working one to Moscow, and I certainly won't have to send another. Tito." I think this gives a sense of the type of strongman character that Tito was. He sending a direct death threat to Stalin, of all people. I mean, Stalin, a man who had Trotsky assassinated in Mexico, for example. Not many people stood up to him and got away with it. I then go on and imagine what Tito might have been thinking during this time. My people, is Yugoslav socialism better than Russian? Indeed. For Yugoslavs only ration milk, bread. Russians, the spirit. Without Stalin, our feet will again begin to feel the ground beneath them. A snow thawing, clear, like polished spectacles. The last time I met with Stalin was at Lake Ritsa for one of his late night suppers. Most on couches and chairs, some collapsed on the floor. All were obliged to guess the temperature outside and drink a glass of vodka for every degree they were out. Stalin then cleared the servants, our delegates. So it was just he and I, spooning heavy soup to one another, warming the loss of our old Slavic ways. Yugoslav leader attempts to liberate himself from freedom. The Communist Party of the Soviet Union has ordered the removal of all state photographs in which government officials appear in company with Marshal Tito. According to reports, even his grainy black pictures in old newspapers will have to be collected, excised. Moscow assures that these traces of the past will not vanish, but rather bring another past into view. Officially, the process will be known as the recirculation of blank spaces, or the wintry loneliness of a Yugoslav general headed west. The book then goes on and finally concludes with an escape sequence where one of my characters escapes in a very similar fashion to what my grandparents did. It was a very dangerous affair. They went to what's now Slovenia, right on the border with Austria, paid an unknown agent, someone they'd never met before, who took them up into the mountains and had them cross the border. I left in the dark when the farmers had stopped singing. I hid under a pile of dirty potatoes all the way to the Slovenian border. I had partisans in the family. I thought of their voices the next morning, coarse from cursing, as my boots brushed through the bushes, fallen leaves, the dark boughs deepening around me. It is said that Yugoslavian-made maps have intentionally false borders, tracing the corners of neighbours like the black lines of a forged signature, so accurately that you begin to question your own name. When you leave for good, guards wait in invented towns. Some climb trees, others patrol the hills and roads that lead to nowhere in particular. Night falls. The lines you do not see mark the snake's skin beneath the grass. The Alps were filled with echoes, the sound of their footsteps slowing, like drips catching in a pot, as if there was always someone approaching or moving away. I ate frost to hide my breath, my eyes used to the darkness, the thread of barbed wire glinting along the trees. For a moment, I heard the hungry murmurs of the guards inside. An opening. Forgetting their cups on the bench, the rattle of cards and coins, as I turned my back on Maribor, its lights, its flickering teeth. Thank you. I'll now pass on to the one and only Vivienne Plumb. As Bigsy said, when Vivienne reads, her words move off the page and come to life. She'll be reading from her new chapbook, Lotus. My pleasure to pass on to Vivienne. Thank you.
Oops. Thank you, Tim. Kia ora, everyone. Kia ora, Featherston. Lotus. A lot of tepid nothing goes on here. During the day, I walk to the secret beach, past the dream houses, manses of darkened concrete that tower over the sandhills and Kitset scrub, featuring coffin-shaped architectural turrets, carports, copious decking, and their own 365-degree sea fog views. skylarks. It goes this far and that much further. Here are the people who have drowned in debt in exchange for a glass box dream. I see them getting out of their Subaru Maximus, toting their sacks of supermarket fast food. They rarely walk on the beach. I will admit, I'm having a little trouble with my own crazy cough etiquette. But when the moon swims across the sky like a pearly fish, it makes me hold out hope that many more of everyone can still become their own significant, slow-opening lotus. Wood smoke. My best friend bets on the horses and watches too much television and always drinks. Life is a philosophical downpour for him, with strident moments of rolling darkness. Only occasionally he ventures into the wild woods and returns sweetly scented with wood smoke, humming, and with enough priceless passion to fill a quark. Oh, to be in the fresh rain and the sound of it tunnelling like silverfish into our white bread hearts. My friend bets on the horses, experiences many strident moments, and enjoys the ambiguity of getting out under the trees and burning wood. Sandon Point. Oh. Rising behind us, a rich green ridge encrusted with cockatoos and lolly-pink galahs. That's a glamorous wave that comes at you, crisp, curling and smoking blue with white frills on the rock pools. Coal tanker on the horizon, the sand sticking to your legs as if fur has begun to grow, and a line of fruity creamy froth, kicks and crawls, high rollers fingering their way up the sand. We made love, but then forgot about it because the next minute someone was firing shots down on Sandon Point. Ripe fruit. Be ripe fruit on the tree. Be the merry whistler in the corridor at work, 6 p.m, in the bar, and all anticipatory. Be you coming towards me. Be your accumulation of the knowledge of me. Be the ripe fruit on the tree, and be you talking about salt on the tongue. Only if they'd both been bathing in the sea, I replied. Be my garden, where the trees are a clotted mat of interlocking arms, the morning glory running rampant over the plastic wicker chairs. Be me inside that deathly garden ringing and then hanging up. Be me moving, a stupor in a dream, on the dark side of my own alley. Be me ringing and no answer. Be the sky, a jagged piece of blue puzzle. Be my garden, ripe fruit blown from the tree. Be the clock. It's too late for that. So be the ripe fruit. Be the birds on the lawn at dawn. Down from the tree they strike and peck. The anti-love poems. There's 2 of them. We ate veggie burgers in a little place by the beach, and her teacup Yorkie got dirty in the wet sand. Her husband rang 4 times in 1 hour, and each time she answered him on her mobile, which she kept tucked under her left bra strap. This is what he does, she told me. I could smell him cooking up one of those big breakfasts he likes to eat every day, fried eggs, chips, tomatoes, sausages and fried bread, and I prayed it would clog his arteries to buggery. This is why he's calling it quits. He really thinks that she might come back to him. Whatever. He's full of it up to his eyeballs. And then he had to remind me that I'd received $200 worth of free advice from him. I thought, what the... Electronic caterpillar. The train to Coggerus still smells of sweat from the day before. It comes at us out of the warm donut dark, shining its two ghostly eyes. The city summer pre-dawn is perfumed with overpowering orange blossom. Sydney holds its parched breath before the bleaching sun travels closer to sear our skins like a steak on a Bondi barbecue. Silver, 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 electronic caterpillar. I do what we are warned we must not. Place myself on the very edge of the platform, and if questioned, I'll say I forgot. A racist joke. Something loathsome moving, a large white worm along the edge of the field, the shitty new expressway with its relentless metal clunk of traffic, below the go-kart track built using ancient tyres. One neglected sports sock has dragged itself across the start line. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the landscape of our nightmares, where the mucky yellow playground house shows its mocking happy face, and glued to one wall the sign, children must be supervised on the trampoline, no smoking, no shoes, no alcohol, no use after dark, no dog with a bark. In my camp room, the 40-watt bulb blazes into a black hole, death and back. The eventide light in the sky sours yellow. A provocative play slide wiggles a spine under the quarter moon that hides 3/4 of itself like a sneaky racist joke. Kiss it off and take the temperature of this climate, where the muscle used to be attached to the tongue in Groove Church on the hill. Now you need go further east to do unto others as you would do unto yourself. Oh. Daffodils. Leering towards us with their yellow, jokey, yoky, happy-pappy, sunshiny embarrassments, their lopsided grins drag us from the bitter shaving knife edge of a sombre winter. Daffodils showing off their shocking shooting star behaviour outclasses every other single supple sappy flower in the open-mouthed ululating spring. And finally, something trivial. Once or twice a week, my dead son visits me at midnight, and he holds the door open so I can see a tall gate, a frontier outpost, 2 dogs barking, a secret veil, something trivial, everything ironic, and beyond that, the other country. Twilight is the hour before the complete darkness descends. Birds sing then, so they can sleep at midnight, the hour of crazy thoughts. At midnight, we enter our deepest void of sleep. It is the late great time of wanderings and grand schemers. Pain rests at a low hum, gathering its forces for an early morning onslaught. The voodoo dolls are sewn. The war has begun. And once or twice a week, my dead son visits me at midnight and he holds the door open. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening. All these poems are in my new chapbook called Lotus. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Vivienne, and thank you very much, Tim, and thank you very much, Sam, for sharing your amazing poetry with us tonight as we celebrate National Poetry Day here at Featherston Booktown. We're so grateful to you for giving up your time and also not just in preparing for this online event, which of course we had to change due to the alert levels, but also giving up your Saturday evening. But I guess where else could you be other than at home and ideally participating in a wonderful poetry event? So we're deeply grateful to the three of you. We're also deeply grateful to Ken Ichinose from the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra for being with us tonight and playing for us. Sincere thanks to Toby of Noise Productions, and also a heartfelt thanks to Mary and the Featherston Booktown team who turned on a dime and put this online event on and made it all happen. So we're really grateful to them. And thank you to all of you for joining us this evening. And we hope that you'll stay in touch with Featherston Booktown and keep your eye out for things that are coming up. Please like us on Facebook and Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, and share your experience with your friends. And also keep going to our website to get more information about forthcoming Featherston Booktown events. And you can also go to all of our social media channels. We'll have information there for you. So again, thank you to our three poets. Thank you all for joining us. Good evening. We couldn't gather, as I said, at the Featherston Bowling Club for some hospitality and good cheer and some excellent wine and food, but hopefully this is an excellent Bordeaux. You're enjoying yourselves this evening. Stay well, and hopefully we'll see you again at another Featherston Booktown event. Kia ora, thank you.